Mm. Hey there, Russ here. Welcome back to the shop. Okay, today I just want to give you an update on the light fixture I was working on. This one here. This is one of the four lenses that came off of that garage overhead light that screws into an E26 socket. There was a 3,000 or 6,000 lumens light, and so this is broken down in one of these little panels here, one of the four. It's going to be about 600 lumens, and it runs on 15 volts, and it pulls about 1.5 amps. So around 25 watts thereabouts. And it's moderately light on what it pulls. For what amount of light you get out of it is quite a bit. 600 lumens is a pretty bright light. So I wanted to turn that. My original thought was to turn that into a simple Ryobi flashlight. And I got to looking at this, and I did that. All you need in order to turn this into just a old-fashioned flashlight is to be able to plug it onto your Ryobi battery. Is you need a receptacle to be able to plug it on there. And this is one that I make here in my shop. And I've actually done several videos about this. Anyway, you need this. You also need a buck converter and a switch. And then, voila, you have a light. And I got to looking at it and thinking about it. You just fasten the light on, and now you have this flashlight. You can pick it up and carry it around, but it just seemed to miss what I really would like it to do. I think I can do better. So I put my OTB hat on, and I've decided that first thing, I would like the light to be able to set on this light fixture in the upward. Let me turn this a little. I want to be able to have it in this position so when I turn it on, it's shining up. Then you can take and set it up high, and you can light up a whole area with the thing. I also want to be able to tip it forward so that then you can pick it up and carry it around like a flashlight. And thirdly, I wanted it to be able to point downward so that I then can light up a bench top and use it as a work light get some really good light down here. So my first thought was just to put this on a simple pivoting hinge in order for it to move in all those positions. But I found that I think that rather than do that, I've been working on the idea of having a flexible wire to go from here to there. For example, here's one is a inexpensive LED, runs off for 3 batteries. But what I liked about it was it's so flexible for the light, but it is only one little light LED, so it doesn't put out a huge amount of light. But I really like this feature on it, is this flexibility. So how do I make one in the shop? Well, that's one of the things that I've been working on to overcome. And I have come up with the idea of using 12 gauge solid core wire, just like what you would use in a house. This one is black. And I have a piece of 1/2 inch tubing, 3/8 inside, outside diameter is 1/2 inch. And I just put that around it. I will feed up a red wire through here also, and I'll mount the light on the one end, and the other end will be connected to my receptacle. And then what happens is, and probably about 7 or 8 inches long is all I'm going to need, so to be here. And now I can take the light and I can turn it so that it's facing up. I can just as easily get it to face down or have it face forward. Or if I don't want it way up here above, I can also reshape it to go there. This kind of shape. So that then it's here and your light is right here and you're carrying it from back here. So I think this is actually working pretty good. I really like this. And like I said, I can use the black wire for the ground of the 2 wires that have to go to the light. And I'll string a red line through here that's a multi-strand, so it's flexible. Because this resistance here is probably just about perfect. And you don't see all those little kinks that the thing might do over time, because you only see the outside tubing. Now I'm using clear tubing because that's what I have in the shop. But this actually is a good way to make your own little flex lighting of any kind if you wanted to. If you wanted to make it stiffer, you can go to a number 10 solid core wire, or put two 14 gauge solid core wires through it. There's lots of ways to increase or decrease the amount of tension it takes to work. So depending on the light, the weight of the light and things like that, you can gauge this with lots of different wires. The idea is just wrap it in a neoprene tubing, and that'll stop all that major kinking or anything like that. So I'm going to use 12 gauge. I'm going to make a light fixture that it has the flexible line on it so that I'll be able to just twist it where I want. And I think about 8 inches is what I'm going to want on it. So I have to put that together. I'll have to take, and I think I'm going to just mount this on a backing board and enclose this area down here where the wires and the connections will all be and anchored, so that then this whole thing will be able to be turned. And I'll also be able to turn it like this if I want to a certain extent. Excuse me. So that's how I've kind of got all the engineering parts about that all figured out. Now, another thing about this light is you have to ask yourself, do you want the battery to set above or below your main fixture where your light is? And by that, let me show you 2 examples. Here's 2 boxes that I've made. This one is a variable voltmeter that I made that runs off of a Ryobi battery. But distinctively, you'll notice the battery sits on top of it, and it sits on the tabletop like this. Now, when I did this one, I actually did it just the opposite. This is a 12-volt battery charger, and it goes on like that on top of the battery. And then you would carry this around this way, and the battery becomes the anchor point on this. So I could do that with either way on this box here, is my thought. And I think I'm probably going to make this box so it sets here. This battery will pop in it from the top. I'll have a handle back here to be able to hold it so I can use it as a flashlight. It'll have a flat bottom to sit flat, and the light will be here mounted on this so that I'll be able to turn it up or down right here and be able to move it around on the flex light, and the line will come down and go in right here. So I think that the battery will probably be a push-in battery rather than popping this on top of the whole thing. Now, what parts are you going to need to make this thing? Well, I already talked about the light and where it came from. If you watch my last Rambling Rampage, you'll see where I got this from. And technically, if you bought a brand new light and took it apart and used the parts, the LED panels, this thing cost me right at $3 for a 600 lumen light that runs on 15 volts. That's not a bad price for something like that that's completely enclosed, ready to be wired up. So you could even just buy a fixture and take it apart and use it to make several of these different lights. So, so I have the light fixture itself. I also would need some kind of switching to turn it on and off, but I don't really like just the on and off, and this is 600 lumens no matter what. So what I decided was, instead of using a regular switch, I am going to put an LED dimmer switch on it. And with this, I can actually turn the light down low or turn it up bright and turn it off. So this would be my on and off switch and dimmer. So I can actually adjust the lighting on it. I know a lot of these flashlights come with 3 different light settings. Well, with this one, you can actually just adjust it. I'm going to use a simple buck converter. Here it is. And I bought this off of Amazon. It's an LM2596. And it's a 3 amp hour. And you can, the voltage in can be anywhere from 5 to 30 volts. And of course, it's going to step down. Now, a Ryobi battery starts at 20 volts. We need 15 volts to run this. That's why you need some kind of converter to step down that voltage from the 20 volts down to the 15. So this will be the one I will use, and since it can be up to 3 amps to it, this 1.5 amps at this pole will not put this under any kind of heavy load, so it should not be a problem. The switch runs on from 5 to 30 volts type switch, again off of Amazon. It's a Pwm Motor Switch, also called a LED dimmer, and I paid $4 for this one off of Amazon. I don't have the number. If you're interested in getting one of these, let me know and I'll put it in the comments how I bought that and how much I got it for. I think you bought 2 of them for $8. So that means that in my original idea, where it was just going to be a switch, a buck converter, and the light, and technically I didn't pay anything for the light because the light fixture was one I had that went bad, and I'm just scrounging the parts. But it's $3 worth if you wanted to break down of what this panel really cost by buying a new one and taking it all apart for different panels. But basically it cost me $1.50 for the receptacle clip, cost me $1.50 for this converter, and 70 cents for a switch for the initial light if I was going to just put together a drab old flashlight. But I have enough of those, so I decided we got to do more. So this light is going to run off of this instead, and the buck converter with this here, and those parts would be $4, $1.50, and $1.50. So still under $7, or for $7 I'll have a light that is dimmable, and now I can also use it as an area light, a straight ahead flashlight, or a desk lamp type light, so I can really shine some light on my work if I want to up close. And being the fact that it's flexible, I should be able to vary the height as I want to also a little bit from that flexible line. So it's going to turn it from a regular flashlight into a multitasking light where you can use it in 3 different modes. But we're not done there. I've also been thinking, why run off of a Ryobi battery only? Why not set this up? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 4521 fitting, barrel fitting. This is the female. That will be mounted in my box so that I can then plug in a wall outlet. And the wall outlet of choice is this 12 volt output at 3 amps. So I can run this off of that if I can go from 12 volts to the 15 volts here. So in order to get a circuit to run the outlet from my wall outlet, so I can actually just plug this into the wall instead of into a battery and still use it just off of a wall outlet. To do that, I would need a because I have the power supply already, but it's coming in at 12 volts, I need a buck boost. I'm not a buck boost. I need a DC to DC boost converter. And it just so happens I can buy those off of Amazon too. I bought this one. There was 5 of them for like $10, so they got about $2 a piece in them. And this is an XL6009E1. It has a 4 amp rating. Anywhere from 5 to 30 volts again going in, and whatever volts go in, it'll boost it up. So if we're putting 12 volts in here, we'll adjust the trim pot here to 15 volts on the output, and then it'll run this light in the same way that the buck converter does off of a 20 volt source. So now I can actually plug this into the wall or plug it into a Ryobi. This now has become a hybrid. But we're not going to stop there. We're going to make it a tribrid. Because think about it. If I'm putting 12 volts in here, why can't I take and make an adapter so I can just plug it into any cigarette lighter and I can run it while it's in my van or in my car? I can have a light in there just by plugging it into a cigarette lighter. So actually there'll be 3 different places I can run this light. I can run it from the wall outlet, I can run it from my car, or I can run it from a Ryobi battery when I'm done. So that's the whole thing in a nutshell. All the different features that I want on it. Once I get this thing put together, I'll do an official video to show you my light. And I don't know what to call it. I think maybe I'm tempted to start calling it a tribrid. Instead of a hybrid light, call it a tribrid light. Tribrid is a crossbreed between 3 species instead of 2. Now, it's normally related to supernatural beings for the crossbreeding. So I don't think I would say this is supernatural, but it's still, I think a tribrid is probably a good name. So I may call this my tribrid light before I'm done. Anyway, if you got a good name for a title for this light, let me know what we can call it. These are some of the ideas that I'm going to incorporate into this, because anybody can make a flashlight. So we're going to make it a multitasker, not only on output, but a multitasker on input on this light. So, if any questions, any thoughts about this, leave them down below. I do read them all, and a lot of times I get a lot of my good ideas from, yes, as you know, from you guys out there. So, don't be afraid to leave me a comment. If you learned something here, you like this video, hit that like button. Lets me know that I'm doing something right. Most importantly, though, please come back again, because I'm nowhere near done. Thanks, and we'll see you again soon. And maybe even I can now put this together so we can see what a real light would look like. So I'm excited to get it done. Anyway, I still have plans to do the other light, and I have some plans of what to do with some more of these. I think I may make like what I would call my version of what I would call a hurricane lamp, using 3 of these. So stay tuned. I still got some other ideas, and we're going to play with that light, and I'm going to turn that thing into at least 3 different lights, if not more. So stay tuned. I think we're going to have some more fun before we're done. Any thoughts about what we can make from it? Let me know. I'm always open to suggestions. And otherwise, I do want to thank you for coming by, and please come back again. Because, as I said, I'm nowhere near done. See you guys again soon.